Pranjal, I think you're talking about compound data type in Python, is it?
Yes, sir.
So see, I'll give you a simple example. You have string, number, boolean, right, in Python. All of those are very straightforward kind of types. Okay. Whenever you have a more complex type, that's called a compound type. Did they start teaching you about list and dictionaries in Python?
Yes, yes.
And so those are all compound types where it's much more than a simple data primitive type like string and all. When you need to store stuff in a much more complex data structure, like a list or a tuple, or what else do you have? You have a dictionary in Python. So all of these things are called compound data types.
Okay, okay.
Okay, all right. So I'll start sharing my screen. Let's get started. So I think in the last class, the last topic we spoke about was template literals and undefined and all of those things, right? So let's get, so we'll continue from there. Last class, maybe we spoke about, the last thing we spoke about was the null, I'm sorry, null and undefined. What is the difference between them both? Now we'll talk about the next topic, which is we have a math object, okay, in JavaScript. So it's called this math with a capital M. Okay, this basically is a collection of different math properties. It has so many math properties. If I just do enter, right, and if I just expand this thing, basically this is nothing but an object. Now, what is an object? That we'll discuss a little bit later when we start talking about arrays and objects in JavaScript. But just for now, remember that, just think of an object like a collection of multiple things. Instead of this, if you look, you have multiple things you can actually use. Like let's say, okay, I want to get the value of pi. Like pi का value कितना है? This one, log 10e, or this is log 2e, and square root of 2, basically. And if you want to get the absolute value of something, or a cost value of something, there's so many things that you can actually use. But we'll talk about some of the very commonly used properties or methods on them. Now, properties are something which result in some value directly. Like for example, if I want to store the value of pi, I can just do math.pi. Now, when I do a console log of pi, when I print out pi, I'll get the pi value. Okay, or I can directly even do just this also. They're both given the pi value. This is a property. This is the object, and this is the property. Next, you also have methods that you can use. Like for example, one very common method is math.random. Okay. Now, what is the difference between a property and a method? A method is basically something which you can call. Like this is when you use this parentheses. Right? We call this parentheses in programming language. I mean, in you would call brackets in normal English, but you would call this parenthesis in programming language. Now, this is what we call as parentheses. This is a method. Now we'll discuss more in depth what a method, what a function is later on. But for now, just remember that method is something like this, which we discussed already, which you can pass an argument, all of those things. Like we discussed about this method called slice as well, right? We discussed about many other things. We discussed about index of, so all of those things, methods as well. Now math.random, when I hit enter, it returns to me a random value between 0 and 1, not including 1. It includes 0, but doesn't include 1. So basically, you'll get a value between 0 to 0.999999. Okay, so you'll never get back 1, but you'll always get back any value between 0 to 1. If I do math.random again, this time I got back 0.29. If I do this again, I get back 0.65. Okay, so basically, I get a different value every single time. Now, let's say I want to basically like I want to generate random numbers between 1 and 10. Okay. Before doing that, let's talk about some other properties and methods. Like we have one method called math.round. Okay. Let's say I want to round a number. So you'll do math.round. Good question, Pranav. So you don't have to import the libraries in JavaScript. This math library is included within the browser itself, within the JavaScript engine. So you don't have to import it. It'll work out of the box just like that. You don't have to import it at all. Okay, but good question. So math.round may, you can give any decimal value and that will be rounded to the next nearest integer. Like let's do math.round 4.4, give back 4. So basically, if it is anything below, like let's say anything below 4.5, that will give you back the least one. If you do anything above 4.5 and above, it will give the next number. Let's say math.round 4.99. You'll still get 5. So basically, there is some algorithm running behind it, which basically rounds it off to the next nearest integer. Whichever is the nearest, will round off that basically. Okay, that is one example. Let's say you have you want to get the absolute value of something. Okay. See, all of these things you already know from school, so don't even have to say much. But yeah, math.absolute, if you give a negative number like this, it'll give you back a positive number because that's what an absolute value means. So let's say if I do a minus 100, I'll get back 100, which is the positive value of math.absolute. Next thing that we have is what if you want to get the power of something? Like, see, one way, okay, let's say I want to get I want to get the square of 3. Okay. One way is by using the exponent operator like this, right? So this is 3 to the power of 2. I get 9. Let's say I want to get like 19 to the power of 8. Okay, like this. So basically, this is the exponent operator, which gives you the power of something. But using math operator also, you can do the same thing. Let's say I want to get the 2 square of 3 square. So 3 comma 2. So 3 ka power is 2, like that. Okay. Next, I want to get the 3 cube. Or let's say I want to get 7 cube. So 7 to the power of 3. So POW stands for power. So math.power 7 to the power 3. You get back 343. Okay, this is one more way. So there are two ways to get the same thing. 7 to the power 2. This is one way. And you can do this also. Okay, both give the same result, exactly the same, no difference at all. Now, what if you just want to remove the decimal from a number? Like let's say I have 4.9 and I want to convert this to 4. I just want to remove the decimal number. And for that, you have math.floor and you give the number. That will just remove the decimal number for you and give it back. So even if you do like math.floor 4.2, this. The difference between math.floor and round is, let's say ki, yeah, so let's say if you do math.round 4.99, you get back 5. But same thing if you do using the floor, like I said, the difference between round and floor is round will round to the next nearest thing. So 4.99 will be rounded to 5. But 4.99 in case of math.floor, we'll just remove the decimal here. That's it. We remove the decimal, we give back the number here. And that's what happens here. There's a difference between math.floor and math.round. All right. So next, let's talk about Next thing I want to talk about is this type of operator. We have this operator called type of. I think I already discussed about this, but I'm just revising this. Type of is an operator which basically gives you the type of a particular value. So say you give this value of hello. We know it's a string, and hence we get back a string here. Okay. Type of will return the type of this value back. That's what type of basically does. Let's say you do a type of Type of 2 will give you back Boolean, and then let's say type of a string, let's give a number to 87, you get back a number. So all of these things you can do using type of, which just returns basically a type of a value to you. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is parse int and parse float. Now let's say okay, so see, parse int kya karta hai ki you give it any number, be it an integer or a float, it converts it into a number. What I mean by that is, let's say I give it a string of 24. See, this is a string. I'm not giving it a number, I'm giving it a string. It converts this string of a number into an actual number. Okay, so now this and this is not the same, right? Because this is actually a number, an integer, a number here, but this is a string. So basically parse int will convert a string to a number. Okay, that's what it does. Let's say you do parse int of 24.987. Like I said, it converts this thing into an integer. Integers are always whole numbers, right? Like integers do not have decimals. And hence you convert this into a proper integer. You remove the decimal point and you convert this into an integer. Remember that you're passing a string here. Parse int ka powerful feature is to convert a string into a number. You can even do something like this. 24 days later. What it does is it knows that these both are numbers, like 2 and 4 are numbers, but everything after that is not a number, so parse int will just ignore it. Okay, that's what the parse int actually does. It just ignores it. Now, but the thing is, you cannot give something in the beginning of a number. Like if you try to do like $24, this will not work. Okay, because parse int में क्या होना चाहिए कि in the beginning of the string you should either give a space, okay, either give a space or just give a number and then give whatever else you want, so basically parse int requires the beginning to either be a space or be a number, but if you start off with anything else like this, then it will not work. Okay, this is what parse int does. Now we have one more thing as parse float also. Okay, now we have parse float. So it does the same thing that parse int does, just that it also preserves the decimal numbers. Like let's say you give it 2.987, it will preserve that number. But you can obviously even use it for normal integers as well. Okay, so if you want to preserve the decimal number, use parse float. But if you do not care about the decimal number, use parse int. Same thing goes here also. Okay, so your beginning should be a number, but after that you give whatever you want, that will be ignored. And this will be preserved. Okay, this is what the parse int and parse float will do. And yeah, so this was all about the variables and all of these things. Now next, okay, so any questions so far, guys, or any questions on anything we have discussed so far in JavaScript in general? Abhi tak, whatever classes happened, any questions you guys have? Okay, no questions then. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the Boolean logic. Okay, so basically, the next topic which we're going to tackle is the logic part. Like abhi tak jo bhi humne kiya hai, we have not really added any logic, right? But we're going to start adding logic here. Now, logic is all about how do we implement certain decisions or how do we make choices within our code so that we have different outcomes. Like let's say ki if you do this, then you will get this as a result. But instead of doing the first thing, if you do anything else, the result will be something else. So pretty much anything interesting you want to actually build in JavaScript will have to be some, I mean, will have some decision making going on, right? Like take an example of a chess game. So if you take an example of a chess game, like if you make the right moves, then it will still allow you to make the right moves, right? But if you actually make the invalid moves, if you try to place this like somewhere here or something, then that will result in an error, right? It won't let you go and proceed further at all. One more example is Netflix. If you see Netflix may currently I'm logged in and hence I see the screen. But if I'm logged out, if I'm not logged in, then the screen I'll see will be different, right? Basically, I can break down the logic as if I'm logged in, then show me this page. If I'm not logged in, then show me some other page. Okay, so all of this thing is actually nothing but logic. Basically, these are our goals. First of all, we understand what a comparison operator is, and we'll write conditionals, and then we'll work with Boolean operators. Okay. Yeah, we'll go into each one of them in depth. All right. So first thing we'll talk about is comparisons. Now, just like in math, right, we have so many comparison operators in programming language also. We're not going to talk about the last four for now. We'll talk about this a little bit later. Okay. But we'll talk about these things first of all. Now, let's say again, I just open up the Chrome developer tools. Again, I go to console. Now let's say I want to check if 1 is greater than 2 or not. Now, if I ask any one of you, if I say, Rajinder, what is 1 greater than 2 or not? You'll obviously say yes or no, right? You obviously say true or false. And that is what we're getting back here. We're getting back as false because this is a false. But if I do the opposite, 2 greater than 1, I get back true. Which means basically we're just asking JavaScript engine a question. Is 2 greater than 1 or not? And JavaScript engine will respond back with a true or a false value. So बोलेगा कि हाँ, 2 is greater than 1, so I'll give you back true. But 1 is not greater than 2, so I'll give you back false. That is why, so all of these comparison operators that we're going to use will always result in a Boolean result. Right? It can't result in anything else. Now, obviously, I'm just think about this logically. अगर मैं आपको पूछता हूँ कि is 39 greater than 28 or not? आप लोग बोलेंगे हाँ या ना. You won't say anything else, right? So, which means your answer will always be a Boolean result, and hence you expect back a Boolean result here as well. All right. So yeah. So basically, you will do 30. So all of the comparison operators always result in a Boolean answer. Okay. Let's go over all the comparison operators. First, obviously, like I said, you have greater than, and you also have a less than. And next thing you have is greater than or equal to. Let's say 32 is greater than or equal to 30. You get back true. And similarly, we also have less than or equal to. You get back true. So basically, see, all of these things are nothing different at all. You have learned all of these things in school ka math. Now we're just relearning them here. So this is greater than or equal to 30, less than or equal to 50. Okay. Next thing we have, yeah. So again, there are many examples you have here. Now, one more thing is, don't try to compare these strings like this, because you get back a different unexpected result. Okay. The reason being, the reason this is false is a ka value jo hai, a has a numeric representation. Okay. That numeric representation is actually less than this a. That's why getting back this. But we'll talk about this representation thing later on. It's not very important, honestly. But yeah, like whenever you're using a comparison operator, make sure that you're using them only with numbers. But just return The main important thing to remember here is all of them always return a Boolean. Okay, they never return anything else. They always return a Boolean value, which means you'll either get a true value or a false value. You'll not get anything else, either a true or a false. That's it. Okay. Now let's talk about the equality operators. See, so far हमने क्या किया है? We have only seen if they are greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or less than equal to. But what if you want to say that two values are equal or not? अगर दो value like is 23 equal to 23 or not? I want to check if these both are equal or not. Okay, and for that we have and is 4 comparison operators. Okay, now there are two ways that you can actually compare the values. Okay, there are two ways to check the equality of values. Okay, there are two ways you can check the equality of two values. Like let's say we have one value which is 24 and one more value 24. Okay, these both, there are two ways to check the there are two ways to check the equality among them. The first way is by using this double equal to operator. Okay, this is double equal to operator. Okay, but there is one more thing, which is a triple equal to operator. Wait a minute. Okay, these two are very similar, but they're not the same at all. We'll talk about the difference. Basically, you can use both of them to find out if the two values are equal or not. And this is not the case in Python, by the way. In Python, you have only one way to check, and that is the double equal to. But in JavaScript, you have two different ways. Okay, now let's discuss what is the difference between both of them. Okay, so we have this number called 42, double equal to 42. Okay, this gives you back the value of true. The same thing if you do it with the triple equal to, you get back true as well. So in case in both of these cases, like you can see, you get back the value of true. Then what is the actual difference between them? Let me show you something now. What if I have a string of 42 double equal to 42? So I get back true here. But what if I do the same thing with the triple equal to now? I get back false. This is the actual difference between double equal to and triple equal to. Okay, what's happening in double equal to operator is, see, if one of the values is a different type, like if both the types are not the same, then double equal to operator will convert one of them to the other type, and then it will compare. Basically, what's happening in double equal to operator is, double equal to operator, first we'll check for the types. Okay, check for types. If equal, and directly compare, which means if types are equal, and directly compare. But if types are not equal, if types are not equal, first convert and then compare. Okay, this is what happens. Now, how do we know which of them will be converted to what? Like, will 42 be converted to a string, or will the string 42 be converted to a number? What is the rule behind that? And to know that, you just have to go to this thing called ECMAScript. So if you guys remember, one of the first, in the first class of JavaScript, I've spoken about ECMAScript. ECMAScript is basically the language, the documentation that actually has all the rules. Based on these rules, the JavaScript language was created, right? So yeah, if you come here now, you have the abstract equality comparison operator. Now, the double equal to operator, which we call, right? Okay, this double equal to, it's actually called abstract equality comparison. Okay, now there is an algorithm behind. The algorithm ka matlab hai, there is a rule, how is it compared. Okay, now let's try to understand how it works. If you look at our code, Left side ka value is a string and right side ka is a number. Okay, remember, left side ka string, right side ka number. Now we'll come here. So first we are checking if type of x is the same as type of y, which means ये left side or right side का value same है या नहीं. In our case, they're not the same, and hence we'll not do any of these things. We'll not even go inside this. Then we come here. If x is null and y is undefined, okay, but हमारे में तो x और x null नहीं है, y undefined नहीं, so we can skip this. We can skip this also because x is undefined, y is null, वो भी condition नहीं है. Then we come here. It's saying if type of x is number and type of y is string. लेकिन हमारा क्या है? हमारा x is a string and y is a number, so this is also not right. And finally we come here. Okay, this is saying if type of x is string and type of y is number, which is what we have in our case, x is a string and y is a number, then it's saying that we have to return the comparison to number x of y, which means ये x को हम लोग number पे convert करेंगे, and then we compare that number with this, which means what will happen in this case is when we have in this case, right? What will happen in this case is first this 42 will be converted to a number like this, which means we'll result in a number like this, and hence we get back a value of true. So all of these steps are happening. Now basically, see, you do not have to know any of this. Okay, in fact, I can tell you that 99% of the courses don't even talk about this at all. But I spoke about this just to give you an idea of how the documentation works and what is the actual algorithm behind this. Now everything that you see, everything that you actually see happening in JavaScript is happening for a reason. And to find out the reason, you can just come to this documentation and check it out. Okay, yeah, but yeah, you do not have to know any of this. Okay, you can just forget all of this, by the way. But just to give an example, I've given that. So ultimately, just remember one thing: key, if you're comparing something using double equal to operator and the types are not equal, then one of the types will be converted to the other, and then it will be compared. But in case of the triple equal to, what happens is, if the types are not equal, the triple equal to doesn't even care about anything, it directly returns false. Because triple equal to बोलता है कि मुझे दोनों तरफ के जो values है वो दोनों का types same होना चाहिए. अगर वो दोनों same नहीं है, then I'll return false by default. Okay, which means this thing. By the way, so yeah, so if you look at this, right, this step, what happened here is we have converted a string to a number, right? We call this as type coercion or type conversion. Okay, it is called as type coercion or type conversion. This is what happens when you convert one type to the other type. In this case, we're converting a string to a number, and hence we call that a type conversion or type coercion. Okay, now with respect to the double equal to operator, the type conversion or type coercion happens implicitly. What is implicitly? Implicitly का मतलब है it happens behind the scenes. It happens automatically. हम लोग कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, it's happening automatically. That is called implicit type conversion or implicit type coercion. Ultimately, what I mean to tell you is, whenever you do a double equal to operator will perform implicit type coercion, but triple equal to does not perform the implicit type coercion, and that is the actual difference between both of them. Okay, the only difference between both of them is double equal to will perform the implicit type coercion, but the triple equal to does not perform implicit type coercion. That is the actual difference between both of them. Okay. So guys, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's move on to the next. So yeah. Now, just like how you have equal to, you also have not equal to. Not equal to also comes in the same flavors, like 42, not not equal to 70, whatever. And you have the same thing with this also. Okay, so not equal to comes in two flavors. One is using the double equal to and triple equal to. Now, so the question might be which one to use basically. Okay, so honestly, like, so there are most of the people will tell you to always use the triple equal to, which makes sense. Like, in fact, if you just just go on Google or YouTube or whatever, na, everybody will ask you to use triple equal to only, which is a good advice, but honestly, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because uh, when you're writing production code, if you actually know the difference between both of them, then you can just use either. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, ultimately, every article, every blog post, every YouTube tutorial will suggest you to use this thing. And hence, even my suggestion would be to just go with that, just to maintain a standard. Because if you look at most of the production and most of the companies, no, big companies also, all developers there, they use only triple equal to for the most part. So my suggestion also is to use triple equal to. Okay, go with triple equals. All right. Now next is there is a function called console log, which basically will print whatever arguments you give inside this to the console. Okay. Now I'll tell you how that works. So so far what you've been doing is if you type anything, it just prints back, right? But once you start working in files now, so you guys have already worked with Python, obviously. So the Python, what you do is you do a print of something, right? Like this, you do this, right? But the equivalent to that in JavaScript is using this thing called console log. If you enter, you'll get back the whatever you have given here, that will be printed back here. Okay, we'll look into this now. But before that, we'll have to start finally writing JavaScript inside a JavaScript file and not in the console log. Okay, we'll start doing that now. Now let's go back to our VS Code. Okay, so here just create a new folder called JavaScript. JavaScript. आप लोग FSD 9 हो या FSD 8 हो आपका? What is the batch number? I forgot.
11.
अच्छा, FSD 11. Sorry. Got it. FSD 11. Cool. So FSD 11 बोल के मैंने create कर दिया है. Now just like drag and drop this here, and you go to just click on this directory thing or Explorer, and here we'll create one index.html file. Okay, we already have this. Now, like I always told you, just do an exclamation mark and then hit tab. Then this thing has created. Document name will say JavaScript. Title name will say JavaScript, and body name will just say hello world. Okay. Now, like I always told you, you have this extension called Go Live, and if you click on this Go Live thing here, then you see the HTML file rendered here, right? So let me just put them side by side. All right. So we are here now. Okay. Now let's create a JavaScript file. Okay. Now JavaScript files will always, they have an extension of .js. Now in Python, how you have the file extensions of .py. and how in CSS we have .css, for HTML we have .html, and for JavaScript we have .js. Okay, you can write again. The file name can be anything you want. Okay, like for example, I can say the file name will be sadashiv.js. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Write whatever the heck you want, and you can even write like Aman Gupta or whatever you want. Okay, so but again, the most common names for the main JavaScript ka file inside the project is either app.js or index.js. It's either of these two. Okay, let's go with index.js for now. All right. So we are inside the index.js ka file. Okay. So you can start writing your JavaScript code here. Let's say I'm going to create a name here. I'm going to say Rohit Gunje. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name, buddy. But yeah, so now if I want to print this out to the console, right? If I want to print this out in this console, which is right here, I have to use the console.log. And here I can say name. Okay. Let's change the username. The username. But actually, let me call this student. Call student and then console of student. Now, when I hit save now, see nothing. I don't see anything here. But I've done console log, but why don't I see anything here? The reason being, see, even though I've created the JavaScript file, I've not linked it up with the HTML file. अभी HTML को पता नहीं है कि ये JavaScript का एक file भी है. So how do you link it? Okay, you link it by actually going inside your body. At the very end of your body, you can give a script tag. You give a script tag like this and close it. You do not give anything between the script tag because it's an empty. It's a self. Basically an empty tag. Okay. Now inside the source, you will give the source of the file. Okay. See. Right now we are here. Right. We are inside an HTML file. So if you just because these both are in the same level, I can just type index.js. That's it. Now, as soon as I type this and save and hit save, I can now see the console ka value here. Okay. Now, one more thing. So, what if I had a folder called maybe src? Inside this, if I place the index.js, see, right now nothing is working again. The reason being this is not the correct source. So guys, you tell me, and I spoke about this during CSS class. How do I go inside the source and then give this as the source here? What should the path of this file be? We spoke about this during CSS class.
./, then index.
So ./ is not required in terms of the HTML. But can you tell me the answer again?
Dot. Then /.
Okay.
And then index.js.
But see, it is inside src, na. See, I am inside the. See, Rajendra is correct. So see, you are inside the HTML file. You have to first go inside src and then go to index.js, which means you basically do src ke andar jo hai, like this, and then you get back the answer again. Got it? So let's say कि src के अंदर एक और फोल्डर मैं क्रिएट करता हूँ, which is inner, and इस फोल्डर के अंदर मैं लगाता हूँ. Again, this will not work. What should I do here? I should say src. उसके अंदर I have to go to inner. उसके अंदर I have to go to index.js. Okay, this is how we do it. So any questions here, guys?
सर क्या हम डॉट का यूज कर सकते हैं इसमें फॉर सेम डायरेक्टरी?
You can, but the thing is, it's not required in HTML. तो HTML का वो standard है ही नहीं. So you do not need for dot slash in case of HTML file. See, when we start writing only JavaScript ना, like let's say कि हमारे पास 10 JavaScript का files है. मैं पहले JavaScript का file में वो 10वां JavaScript का file को import करना चाहता हूँ. Then I can use then I have to use dot forward slash. लेकिन when it comes to HTML, dot forward slash is not required. Okay, it will work without that also. Okay, does it answer your question, whoever asked? Question किसका था? Sorry.
राजेंद्र.
Okay, yeah. Does it answer your question, Rajinder?
Yes sir.
Okay. Now I'll do the opposite. Okay. मैं क्या करता हूँ? मैं एक और फोल्डर यहाँ पर create करता हूँ. I'll say HTML. इस HTML के अंदर मैं I'll add this. Okay. And I'll just add index in the root. I'll remove this. I'll remove all of this. हाँ अभी क्या है देखो. I'll remove this source also. Trash. हाँ. Now see, observe what is there. So we have a folder called HTML inside which we have the HTML file. तो इसके बाहर में तो index है. And the way we do it is, see, when you have to go back one level up. अगर हमको एक level ऊपर जाना, then you have to use double dots and then this one and then this. Why isn't this working? Next, so I think there's some issue with the go live. Let's go live again. This is working now. And we get the so whenever you have to go one level up now, you have to do double dot and then go forward slash. See, when you're doing double dot, you are going one level upper. So यहाँ से लेके you have gone here. Now इस level में we have index.js, so वो add कर देना है सब. बस ठीक है. Now this is something which we'll be using quite a lot. So just remember कि again if you're using सिर्फ एक dot and forward slash, आप लोग बोल रहे हो कि उसी डायरेक्टरी में ढूंढो. लेकिन HTML में if you're going within the same directory, you don't need the dot forward slash. वो mandatory नहीं है. But if you have to go one level higher, you have to use double dot. ठीक है? हाँ. Now the last thing I'll talk about for now is, okay, so this is how we'll do console.log. Now console.log के बारे में सिर्फ हम लोग use करते हैं. See, this is one way you can do console.log. Let's say we have one more another student and it's called Rajinder. So here, if you want to add this along with this name, you can just do a comma and add this name also. Okay, you'll get back this first and second. Let's add one more student. Const one more student. Let's say Sadashiv. Okay, and you can just add one more also here. Okay, you'll get all the three names here: 1, 2, and 3. Okay, this is one way you can use console.log. The other way to use console.log is you can just add any string also inside this. Hi guys. Like this. Okay, you can add anything inside the string you want. Now, one more thing that you can actually do is, after the string, you can give a comma and add any other value you want. Like let's say, okay, I want to add 19 plus 10. Yeah. Basically, you can add an expression if you want here. And let's say you actually have some variable here like this. Okay, you can add the variable also here. You cannot use location, I'll say user location. Like this. This is the hard-coded string that we gave here. and whatever value you give here will be added here. Basically, what you can do is, let's say you have two numbers, okay? Number 1 is 10 and const number 2 is 20. If I want to say that sum of two numbers is, and I can just do number 1 plus number 2. I'll get the value here. Okay. Now, same thing. Whatever basically whatever we have done here, we can do same thing with template strings also, which we discussed about, right? We discussed about template literals, right? So here's 1 second. Yeah. So what I can do here is the same thing. I'll replace the entire thing with the backticks. First of all, I'll say sum of two numbers is, and then inside this I'll do number 1 plus number 2. So I get the same result here. Okay, so instead of doing this, whenever you have to embed something inside the string, just consider using template literals. It is just like your f strings in Python. Okay, so yeah, that is all I have for today, guys. Any questions before I end this class? Okay, no questions then. Thanks, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can we add a plus instead of the comma in the first one?
In the first one, yeah. So I'll tell you. So I'm saying here.
Yes.
You can. When you add plus, basically, it just up the difference between this and this. Did you observe what the difference is? See, the difference between this is just concatenating. So,
okay.
This is a string, and just concatenating these both, which is not what we want. We actually want to comma here so that JavaScript को हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कि this is one string. इसके बाद इसको consider this as an expression. Okay, but if you do a plus here, what will happen is you're just concatenating these. See, it is just like you saying 29 plus Adi or Aditya, whatever. What will happen? It will concatenate both of them. It is not what we want now. Sum of two numbers plus 10 plus 20. See, this is what we're getting here. So we're just concatenating these. Whenever you have a string, and then if you use plus with the string, it will always convert everything to a string and just append it to the string itself like this. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.